Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. In the comics, TV, and movies, we will go from Earth 616 to the Mojoverse to the TVA in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the man without fear, Chris.
I'm the nerd with the mouth, David.
Alliance Assemble,
Assemble.
Volume 286. And we were not necessarily wondering if we were actually to have a show this week. And what does Sony and Amazon Prime do? They dropped the first trailer for Spider-Noir. That's not gonna get old at this point. Spider-Noir. So that is what we will be breaking down tonight. That not only the trailer, but some first details coming from Esquire, some first images that are being coming out from the show. So happy to be doing the show. This is going to be a lot of fun and very, very interesting trailer, especially that it's going to be in two different versions. So, but I'm excited to talk about it. But how has been your week, David?
My week has been pretty chill, just getting through the work week. I've got half a work day left, and then I am headed out of town for the second biggest Mardi Gras in the United States to just have some fun this weekend, see some friends, and then come back home.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, this is our first official full week back. No winter storm. Winter storms are gone. We have snows. We actually had a little bout of spring this week of 70-degree weather. That quickly went away, but I'll deal with 50s and 60s as temperature highs versus what we've had for the past couple of weeks. But yeah, it's been full week down. Need some recovery from it. When you haven't had a full week of work in almost a month, it's tough getting back.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, let's see. We got someone in the chat. Look at this. We got emo nerd girl. Hey guys, how you doing? And then we've got Bear's Lair. Good evening, guys. Doing the homework for Comic Book Club as I listen to you guys. Temps are going up, and I'm digging it. Yeah, spring hopefully is around the corner. So, all right. So before we start breaking down the trailer and everything that's going on with Spider-Noir, let's get the show plugs out of the way, network plugs. So we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network with 6 shows covering the wide range of geek and nerdom. To check out the full schedule, check out the show notes below, and subscribe to the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GWayPod Network so when all the shows drop. We also have a Patreon, so if you want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we've got 2 tiers. Our $1 tier is our tip jar to say, hey, you think we're doing a good job. And then we've got our $5 tier with ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon exclusive shows. We've got a couple of shows in the back catalog for you all patrons. We've got We Can Watch This All Day, the Marvel Alliance Infinity Saga rewatch, Tales from the House of X, where we rewatched our favorite movies from the Fox era of X-Men. And then we've got the Baxter Broadcast, the Fantastic Four retro film reviews. So all those shows are out there. We've got the DC Alliance guys doing their DC films through the years. We've got Joe doing his Multiverse minutes with his Disney Dives with the 1st and the 15th of every month, looking at in chronological order, the animated classics from the Disney archives, and a lot of great back content. We want to thank our patrons. We cannot do this without your support. But if you're not a member of our Patreon, if you would like to join, you can go to www.patreon.com/GUA network so you can be a part of our lovely Patreon community. And if you can't join us on Patreon, if you could take 30 to 90 seconds and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcast, we greatly appreciate it. And last but certainly not least, we want to thank our official sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com, panelboundcomics.com for your hardcover omnibus collected edition needs. JP at the crew at PBC have got it going on with excellent customer service, immaculate packaging, ships around the world. We've got a couple of new omnis in there. We've got Age of Krakoa, Reign of X, Volume 1. We've got X-Men Blue and Gold, Blood Ties, and we've got, let's see what else from Marvel. We've got The Art of the Mighty Thor. A lot of great stuff. Use that code MarvelGUA at checkout to get $2 off every single order. Or use that code MGUASIT for when you get 5% off when you order 4 or more books together. It lets them know you're a listener. We want to thank them for being our official sponsor. All right. So we will, for those that aren't watching and just listening at that point, there are two versions of this trailer because there's going to be two versions of this show. One will be in black and white, as the comic was done at that point, and one will be fully in color. So, why not lean into the gimmick? Which one are you going to watch primarily?
I was talking to Brent about this today. I will watch every episode in black and white, and I may go back and watch one episode in color just to kind of see how it feels. But I'm definitely, for my watch through, I'm going with black and white. I feel that's the way that it is meant to be seen, and that is the way that I'm diving in for it.
Yeah, I love it that as we're getting ready to play the trailer, it says Spider-Noir, the authentic black and white teaser trailer. I actually did see the trailer in color on TikTok, so it wasn't bad. Like you said, I may give it an episode or two to after I watch the black and white version. For my rewatch, I may do it like that. But yeah, so this was. We found out the day before that they were going to be dropping this trailer. We saw some screenshots coming out. The article was coming out, so it begged to, that they were going to be releasing something, particularly that's going to be coming out in March. So, are you ready to kind of talk about this and kind of break this down?
Let's do it.
All right. So we get Nicolas Cage playing Ben Riley. Hashtag not my Ben Riley. Hashtag Brent's not Brent's Ben Riley either. The only Ben Riley is the Scarlet Spider Ben Riley.
Yeah,
So,
they went away from the Peter Parker route. They went with Ben Riley to give it some difference. So that is a different type of feel.
yeah, and I think that's probably, that's a personal gripe for me. It's just like there's definitely some reasoning behind that, and whether the audio, I mean, again, there's got to be some sort of reason, because if we can have a Spider-Verse animated movie that has everyone either Peter Parker or some variation of it, but that's a personal gripe. So we have Ben Riley walking through basically, tombs and mortuary, all the different tombs, and we see our first look at him in costume. So it looks like a ski mask with wide eyes, literally.
Yeah, looks very and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, looks very cosplay, looks very
Yes.
put this together at home, stitch some eyes on a ski mask that I had.
Yeah. I mean, again, how like Peter Parker in the beginning, So
Yeah.
we get our first look of him in the full costume out in daylight. So this is taking place in the 30s. That's a good stop right there. So you get another look. I like these kind of fast cutaways to know the action that's going to be there. Well, then we start from the beginning. So we'll talk about these characters in the beginning. But this is, I believe, this is our version of Black Cat, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, this they have switched it up just slightly, so we're not getting Felicia Hardy, we're getting Cat Hardy instead.
Yes, Cat Hardy. And I do like throughout this, very much leaning hard into not only the era but the genre of films, the crime noir, the filmmaking style of it as well. So tell me about it. So this is going to be a Prime original. He's talking about the ticks he's feeling, the thoughts. So it's a mix of crime noir, but also kind of psychological, because again, we're assuming that he's still dealing with just getting these powers for the first time, but we don't see how he got these powers. But we're assuming what he's experiencing is dealing with getting these powers and them taking over his body.
Yeah.
He's his impulses. We see all the spiders around him and managed to suppress them. So he's a private investigator. Most of the time he suppresses them. And this is our first look at Robbie Robertson.
Yep, played by the great Lamorne Morrison, who a lot of people will know from New Girl and a lot of other projects. So I'm excited to see his take on this 1930-ish version of Robbie Robertson.
So we obviously so we get the hint of like this is probably where the bite happened. All these different images, and we'll kind of see what's going on. Our first look at one of our villains, to see if I can go back a little bit. Oh, full screen. Don't want that. Okay, this is gonna be, and it's hard to tell in black and white. This is our first look at this version of Sandman, and that's where it's gonna be interesting watching this in black and white, and then watching in color. How, because when I saw this in color, I could tell. Oh yeah, that definitely looks like Sandman. It's hard to tell in the black and white though. Then we get another view of another possible villain. Some cracks in the screen. Yeah, we'll go back, but there's like a spider-looking creature. So the producer, Lord Miller, are producing this. What the hell happened? I beat up some guys in the bar. You see him beat up some guys in costume. He's drinking. And then I got plastered in that famous Nick Cage. That's where it's like, it's going to be interesting because the Spider, and I'm going to say it, the Spider-Man Noir character, Peter Parker, is a little eccentric in the comics. But I think they kind of leaning into Nick Cage being Nick Cage.
Yeah, there are definitely some moments like right there with the hand movements where Nick Cage is just being Nick Cage.
And we're kind of seeing like this, like we get a look at the closer of this one. This looks to be an updated ski mask versus when we see it like this, or or it could be just kind of the framing of the lighting.
Yeah,
this
you can see a lot more defined webbing features on the mask, even though it's still in black and white.
So with no power comes no responsibility. So David, I was saying this to David offline. Before we jumped on, yes, it's a plan. With great power comes great responsibility. This obviously, he does have powers, but I think what they're calling out for this, with no power comes no responsibility, he is not of a high class of in power. He does not control a lot. He doesn't have a lot of money. So what he's saying, if I don't have the power, I don't have any responsibilities, so why should I? He's going to act outside the law.
Yeah. In a world of cops and gangsters, that is definitely plausible.
Mm-hmm. And then we get our first look at Molten Man. I'm a bit of an existential crisis, if I'm honest. Cool hero shot. First look at him using his webbing, some fighting going on, some falling. Got our first look at Electro. Yep, so we'll pause a little bit later. I love the swinging. The swinging ain't bad.
Yeah, they have, at this point, they have mastered the physics of the swing. So I'm happy that even in the black and white, even with the noir, it still looks good.
Yeah, watch into its authentic black and white and true hue full color. So we get a preview of what the color looks like. So I'll definitely give the color a shot. I think it'll be interesting. Like I said, like in the trailer, it's hard to tell certain things. But I understand, at least from a huge fan of that era of movies and crime noir and film noir in general. I think for our first trailer, it was pretty good. It definitely gave me intrigued. Jokes aside, it wasn't there. It wasn't as bad as I was worried it was going to be. Bears Lair says it's Spider-Man Noir, black and white, of course. Yep. It's very details in the chat. Getting a lot of Spidey this summer. Can't wait. Is this supposed to be the same version that was in comic? So I don't think this is going to be tying into Spider-Verse at all. I think they're just taking the character that happens to be they're casting Nick Cage as the same character.
Yeah, keeping the voice, but it is a different character. The version from Spider-Verse was a version of Peter Parker. So this is, like we said, this is Ben Reilly. So it is not the same. They are just keeping the voice and the inflections to kind of give you that familiarity, but it is a different take on the character.
Yes, like I said, he's called Ben Reilly. Hashtag not my Ben Reilly. But so Esquire magazine had a full exclusive of getting full access and dropping some exclusive first takes. So I'm going to pull some ideas from it of the article. So they go into the whole idea of the full color version and the black and white. and Lord and Miller say that both formats were created so that the viewers could choose their own preference. The truth is, they both work and they're both beautiful for different reasons. Cage tells us the color is super saturated and gorgeous, so it's not just going to be modern color. They're going to kind of give it a aura about it. That's why they call it like true hue.
Yeah.
I think teenage viewers will appreciate the color, but I also want them to have the option. If they want to experience the concept of black and white, maybe they would instill some interest to look at earlier movies and enjoy the art. The showrunner says Spider-Man Noir, he hopes it feels like a relic from another time, even though the full color version doesn't look precisely modern. It's like a black and white film that has been colorized, and it's the inspiration that they had to do it, which we do see with a lot of different film.
Yeah. I do like where they mentioned immediately after this that the color version will give you feels of Dick Tracy. So if you are at or around my age, for context, I turn 40 in a couple of months, you are very familiar with Dick Tracy.
I love that.
So to have that be where they were veering towards with the colorization of this, it gives me hope for watching those episodes.
Yeah, it's a great call. So they go into talking about like the character, and the newest introduction to Spider-Man Noir was Into the Spider-Verse. They said it was the biggest no-brainer of all time. Miller said, we called up our buddy Orn, who had worked with us before, who we knew was the biggest noir aficionado we knew, and we came up with a take that was perfect. It they and so they really loved the idea of a spider character that was set in this time period. They go on to say the depth of the spider history was important because Spider Noir was taking some big swings through the corridors of old New York. Although Cage voiced the variant of Peter Parker in the Spider-Verse movies, his fedora-wearing gumshoe in Spider-Noir series would have a different real-life alter ego. This hero is Ben Reilly, who was introduced into Marvel Comics in the mid-'70s as a contemporary clone of the young Peter Parker known as Scarlet Spider. In the show, Riley's masked crime fighter persona is not called Spider-Man, he's just called the Spider. A callback to the early heroes of the era like the Spirit, the Shadow. There were several reasons for Ben Reilly change-up. The main one was the nature of noir storytelling itself. The genres. So they say that. I don't buy it.
I think
sure.
it's just because they have a Spider-Man movie coming out in a couple of months, and they're not trying to confuse the general audience with Peter Parker's.
I think that's what they want to tell themselves. They're going to confuse the general audience. I think they're treating the general audience like a bunch of idiots, which they are not. I think they can tell the difference. And those that can't, well, I can't help you. I'm sorry.
At this point, most general audiences are at least somewhat versed in multiversal theory. We can separate, oh, this is not that version of Peter Parker. I mean, we've gone through this gauntlet of movies and series. You don't have to, oh, we don't want the audience to be confused anymore.
Yeah. Spider-Noir could not be an optimist. Peter Parker feels very synonymous with high school kid, boyish on his way up. So they chose the clone character whose backstory could be more easily adjusted to fit the pessimistic misanthrope. See, and that's a problem I have. They're going. Here's another quote. This character is very different from Peter Parker from the movies. He's older and jaded, not afraid to punch a guy in the face drunkenly. Miller says, while Lord chimes in, he's already had his Chinatown disillusionment moment that happened years and years ago. So if you haven't seen Chinatown, do that for homework for this weekend, because it's an amazing movie with Jack Nicholson and another 1970s take on the film noir genre. Again, that is a version of Peter Parker that, like, the boys, the plucky, and things like that. That's not always who Peter Parker is, and that doesn't have to be the version of Peter Parker. The version Tom Holland's Peter Parker is, he's not that type anymore. So to say that it is, I think that's more cover that I don't necessarily totally buy into. But they want to put it out there. That's fine, but I don't buy it.
Yeah, I think. Again, Peter Parker doesn't always have to be the geeky high school kid. We've seen Peter Parker grew up in the comics before various resets, and it's very well done. You can have a more adult, a more I've been through some things, I've seen some things type Peter Parker, and it'd be just fine.
Yep. So instead of a kid coming of age while dealing with the surprisingly new power, Spider-Noir is a guy whose hero complex has collapsed into a midlife crisis. Ben Reilly has already gone through the entire arc and has seen it all. He's over it. He's trying to move past it, but his past kind of creeps up, coming back to haunt him. It's just a different version that we haven't seen before, which I'm fine. Again, I have no problem with them making a change. I have a problem when they're trying to give cover to something that's saying, just be truthful to us. Don't try to give it. I love the idea of making a shift. If I wanted the comic version, I have the comic. So I'm not saying that. The change in identity is also the mystery the producers say will be addressed in the show itself. I have to be coy about this reason because you'll find out, Lord says. The reason he's named Ben Reilly is explained. Okay, and we'll leave it at that. Okay, I didn't need an explanation why Ben Reilly, but that intrigues me, you know?
And I hope it is a damn good reason and not just some throwaway reason that you come back to later.
Yeah, that's also a thing that producers sometimes, you wait for it, you're going to see it. It's like, really? That was it? That was a waste. Yeah. Thanks for teasing that. Nicolas Cage tells Esquire that he saw his Ben Reilly performance as 70% Humphrey Bogart, 30% Bugs Bunny, given there's a comedic side to the mystery story. But the producers say he's also gave them different description of what he was trying to do. Nick brought all this thinking to the character and really surprised us and was kind of a head slapper. Lord explains his take was like, I'm a spider trying to cosplay as a human. He's code switching inside the body. He feels like an animal. So there you go. There's your cosplay.
Yeah. And I'm not going to lie. This is the one line of the article that did scare me because I'm like, oh God, Nick Cage playing a spider cosplaying as a human. This can get off the rails.
Yeah. So they go into now further the supporting cast. They said among them is Robbie Robertson, a familiar face in the newsroom of the Daily Bugle. This version is still a journalist, but pounding as a freelance beat reporter looking for stories from the heart of the city. He's Riley's friend and collaborator, played by, as you said, Lamorne Morris, best known for the sitcom New Girl, and his role as Garrett Morris in Saturday Night, and his Emmy Award-winning turn as fatally honest Midwestern cop in the season 5 of Fargo. They're both investigators. Uziel says of Riley and Ben, they both go back a long way. Their friendship has really deep ties. The biggest and most obvious difference is that Robbie is a guy who almost carries around a rabbit's foot. He thinks he's lucky and he's all going to work out. Ben is a character who thinks it's never going to work out. It's always going to go terribly. Life's a big disaster, so Ben's cynicism is kind of an opposing force to Robbie's optimism. And so, therefore, there is your Peter Parker luck.
Yeah.
Which he has none. So that requires an actor who can suggest optimism without seeming like a chump. Robbie's living in his 30s and the depression, and he's going through it, and he walks into any room thinking he can talk himself out of whatever problem finds him. And Lamorne is so effortlessly charming, and he's going to pull it off. Yeah, I agree. I think that is perfect casting for this version.
Yeah. If you're going to go for the happy buddy person like that, this is a perfect casting for that. I think that he's going to encapsulate this version of Robbie Robertson very well.
Yeah, Riley's other major support pillar is his trusty secretary, Janet, played by Karen Rodriguez from The Hunting Wives. In addition to fielding calls and setting appointments, she's a pretty good investigator on her own, and she's as resourceful Girl Friday when Riley needs help keeping up with everything. Janet isn't drawn from any particular Marvel character. She's an original creation, as we can have one as in this point in storytelling. So that's again, that's fine. Got to have someone running it. No film noir would be complete without a femme fatale, and that role is filled out by Kat Hardy, played by Lee Jun Lee, a nightclub chantilly who lures Riley into the underworld conspiracy at the center of the series. Comic fans will immediately be drawing a connection between her nickname and Felicia Hardy, better known as Master Chief Black Cat. Lee has become known for channeling women of this era of history. She's probably best known as a grocery proprietor, Grace Chow, in the Oscar juggernaut Sinners. Yes, when I saw that, I said, yes, I know her.
Yes.
Really, she's Rita Hayworth, who's so great in Gilda and Lady from Shanghai, and then she's a little bit of Lauren Bacall because Bogey and Bacall go so well together. There's some Kim Basinger from LA Confidential. I absolutely adore that movie. In terms of how she fits into everything, she's an amalgam of different things. So that's going to be kind of a fun payoff. I mean, I immediately, clocked it right there. She's going to be the femme fatale.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see how she pulls that off, from the trailers to just knowing and seeing the actor and various things to this description. I'm excited to see how they pull off, especially in that 1930s feel of this, having her in that role, how they switch up the Black Cat role to be that.
Yeah. The story of Spider-Noir focuses on a gangling boss known as Silvermane, played by Brendan Gleeson, who has been the subject of repeated assassination attempts. Maybe that's just one of the hazards of his business, or maybe there's a broader scheme at play. Riley starts to believe something's amiss when an arsonist suspect of setting ablaze to Silvermane's mansion reveals that he can spark fire from his hands, aka that is our new Molten Man. Then Riley runs afoul of hired muscle named Flint Marco, and we also pause that is the Sandman. So you're going to see versions of Molten Man, you're going to see versions of Sandman, and also Electro as well. So that was kind of a nice little deep dive into it, and kind of giving us a full picture of what is going to be looking at. So I'm going to pull up the Deadline article that has some first looks at some of these images as well. So we see the spider, not Spider-Man, the spider, channeling his, Batman on the rooftop with lightning and rain falling in the background. We got Janet right here. We got Robbie Robertson. We got Cat. Here's Private Investigator. Here's another great look at the spider.
Yeah, and this article from Deadline, looking at the black and white image of Nicolas Cage as Ben Reilly, aka the Spider, you can again see the detail in the masking. You can see the web outline. So I'm excited to see how this translates to the black and white fully.
Yep. And then lastly, here's color shots of some of our villains. So off to the left-hand side, this is coming from Nexus Point News. Screen grabs they had. You have the Sandman. This Electro, so looks like we're getting a version of Electro. We've got Molten Man. And this one right here, that we don't have a name for it, but it's definitely, multi-eyed. So maybe one who's gotten bitten by a spider and kind of mutated a little bit more, not in the right way. Don't know.
Yeah, I'm cautious to see who this fourth character is. It's hard to tell from this still who they could be playing, if it's a brand new character, if it's a retooled version of a classic Spider-Man villain.
Yeah, so March 27th, I think they said the release date is?
May 27th, I think.
May 27th, sorry, May, March, whatever. Well, good, at least we're not competing with other shows.
Yes, May 27th, because I remember it being right after my birthday. So May 27th is when this debuts. And it looks like it's going to be a straight binge drop.
I have feelings. Many feelings on this. We just went through this. Goodness gracious. Stop doing this to us podcasters and content creators, please. We don't even know how long these episodes are going to be, and a lot of Amazon shows last an hour. So stay tuned when we get towards May, and we'll let you know how we're going to break this down once we find out how long these episodes are. It may be another one, because I don't even know if we know how many episodes there are going to be.
I don't know as of right now. I haven't seen anything that's been released that says how many episodes.
Yeah. So, but all right. So yeah, that was kind of fun. I'm definitely very interested. Friend of the show, Scott McClellan, had messaged me with his tweet that it very much gives off Sin City vibes. He's also a very big fan of the film noir genre, like I am. So I know he's definitely here for this, and I guess it's definitely one yet we will cover on this show. And I'm I have my expectations have risen for this now that I finally got a good look at it. So again, if Nick Cage is going to get some Nick Cage, as long as we kind of honor the character, doing new spin to it, sure, I'm down for it.
Yeah.
Will he have a Rubik's Cube, though? That is my question.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. It says a little bit of 70% Humphrey Bogart with 30% Bugs Bunny. Um, I feel like it's going to be more 50% Humphrey Bogart, 30% Bugs Bunny, and 20% Nick Cage just being Nick Cage.
Nick Cage, let's swing, baby. All right, so we're going to take probably what ends up being our only ad break for the evening. So, listeners, these ads help keep the lights on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. These ads, we don't control how often they come on, what they are, but going to give that 3 count before they count because it could be a bit loud. So, 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. Well, you got detail says you look you look younger, David.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. I will be turning 42 in March, so you're just a little bit younger than me. I always tell people, "How old are you?" I'm as old as the morning and night star. So, all right. I do not think I checked the feeds. I don't think we have any questions this week. So so that's okay. That's okay. No, nothing like that. But Factor Fictions we do have, and so. Ones from last week that I had. Hulk. Number 1, Hulk will go into a new transformation in Spider-Man Brand New Day. 73% said fact, 27% said fiction. Number 2, we will see the symbiote piece that was last seen in Spider-Man No Way Home return in some way in Spider-Man Brand New Day. 67% said fact, 33% said fiction. And number 3, Vision Quest will be a lead-in for Avengers Doomsday. 50-50 split. Not sure on that one.
I'm surprised that one was such a dead even split.
Yeah, what can I say? I want to stump them at that point, right?
Yeah.
So, but all right, what you got this week?
Okay, Factor Fiction number 1 is the Osborn family will be mentioned in Spider-Noir.
The Osborn family. So just mention, not seen, just like a throwaway line would count.
Now, it could be a throwaway line. It could be an Osborn business in the background, a corporation, but the Osborn family will be mentioned.
Okay. I could see them dropping an Easter egg like that. I think this show's going to be a lot of, especially with Lord and Miller at the helm. I could see them dropping just those references. See, I'm going to go fact on that one. What about you?
Me too. I think that they can't help but throw something, just like how in a lot of stuff we get the Roxxon reference. I think we're going to get an Osborn reference here.
Yeah.
All right. The Spider, aka Spider-Man Noir, will appear again in Beyond the Spider-Verse. So this version, Ben Reilly's
this version.
live action will appear in Beyond the Spider-Verse.
You want a pointing meme basically at this point.
It could be a pointing meme. It could be how they cast Donald Glover as the Prowler in Across the Spider-Verse. Just some way they're going to shoehorn this version in there.
I say I'm gonna go fiction on that. It's not a hard fiction, but I'm gonna go fiction on this because I think if we're gonna keep them separate, I think we keep them separate, and I want to see that version of Spider-Man Noir as voiced by Nick Cage versus this right now. So I'm gonna say fiction. What about you?
I'm going to go fact on this. I don't think they will do the pointing meme style crossover where they meet each other, but I do think that there will be either something in the background or crossing over a multiverse where they will have them go through this version of the Marvel Universe.
All right. And number 3.
And the last one, we will get another set of Doomsday teasers before we get an actual Doomsday trailer. we still have some characters that we haven't seen that we know are confirmed. We've got Loki. We've got the Avengers with a Z. We've got a nice handful of characters that we haven't seen yet in teasers. So I'm wondering, we still haven't got a trailer yet, if they're going to give us a couple more teasers before they give us the real thing.
I could possibly see it. I think it was a fun gimmick for what they did, and that it was tied into Avatar at that point. I think that it did what it needed to do. I think at that point people are going to kind of get a little eye rolly with it. I don't think it's not going to not draw good numbers. I think at this point people are going to want a trailer. I think they're going to have to give us a trailer. So I'm going to have fiction on that. I think
Yeah.
think they will move beyond this. Again, it's almost like that line from Ocean's 12 or Ocean's 13. You don't do the same thing. You do the next thing. You do the better thing at that point. So I'm not saying a normal trailers are innovative. I'm just saying it's time for a real official trailer.
Yeah, I'm 50-50 on this. I think it really depends on what their thought process is coming out of Spider-Man. Um, so I'm leaning more towards fact on it, just because I don't know if they would want to put something before Spider-Man, or if they're going to have an ending credits to Spider-Man that helps lead. So I don't know if they want to play their hand beforehand. But it's getting about time we get somebody's trailer.
Would you think they would pull what they did at the end of No Way Home and basically end up the post credit scene is basically the trailer for, or would they just do a proper trailer right before?
I think you got to
Brand
go.
New Day.
I think you got to go proper trailer.
Okay. Okay. Because they've only done that once and it was kind of interesting. So.
Yeah.
But all right, well, I will post those on Sunday afternoon, so let your voices be heard with that. And let us bring the illustrious return of Comic Book Club, reading Age of Ultron. Yes, for those was listening, I'm holding up the physical, oversized hardcover edition of the storyline itself. We are breaking down tonight the very first issue of this series. So issue number 1. Good thing I did issue. So we're not reading anything kind of before after there. There was an issue that that kind of was a precursor to it, but we did not read that one. So. So the issue opens with New York City in a major disaster.
Yeah, the city is torn to shreds, and there is a big presence hovering over the city.
But someone is lurking in the shadows and watching, and it is Hawkeye, and basically kind of taking down what ends up being a drug dealing house. These people seem to be hooked up on MGH, mutant growth hormones, and so he starts taking them out. He's obviously looking for someone.
Yeah, he's on a mission now. Yes, he is doing the hero thing and taking out the bad guys and trying to free the girls, but he's here on a different mission. And he's telling everyone basically, hey, get out of here. I'm not here for you. Go, this is your chance to go. Now the bad guys don't take them up on that offer, and man, this version of Hawkeye gets a little violent with these arrow shots.
He's not aiming to wound. He's shoot to kill at that point. I mean, again, he's one of the greatest marksmen ever. So even when he wasn't playing nice, he could play. When he was playing nice, he could have done this earlier. But who is he searching for, and who is he trying to rescue?
All right, so we see after a conversation, or after a confrontation with the Owl and with Hammerhead, that they have Spider-Man tied up in their midst.
Yeah, so he's rescuing Peter Parker. The Owl, and Hammerhead are the kind of runners of this, and they were going to be using trading in Peter Parker for, I guess, more free passes from what we end up finding out is the Ultrons at that point. So as they're fighting, as Hawkeye and Peter are trying to fight their way out, get past it, they start. It almost feels like looks like an earthquake's happening, but it looks like these Ultrons are surrounding the area. As they say, all humanoid life forms, you are to exit the premises immediately. And Owl saying, "Hey, he paid. There's an understanding. We give you this stuff.
Yeah.
You're supposed to give a free pass." Well, they don't care. And so Peter and Hawkeye try to get out of there as quickly as possible, and the Ultrons basically destroy the building in the area, and Hawkeye and Spider-Man barely escape.
Yeah. And again, you can tell that this is a different, more dystopian world. And at one point, once Peter is saved, he turns to Hawkeye, says, "Thanks for the rescue." And he asks him, he goes, "Are there others?" And Hawkeye replies, "Not enough."
Yeah, so they end up going into the kind of the underground, and before we get to the underground layer, we see a fallen helicarrier. Hawkeye is not greeted well by, excuse me, not greeted well by some of the fighters. So who is not happy to see Hawkeye again?
Yeah, Luke Cage has him pinned up against the wall, and he's like, "I told you not to come back." We've got a new look She-Hulk who's got Spider-Man in a chokehold. Like, why are you here? And Tony Stark is there to give them the once-over before allowing them any further. But it's pretty obvious that they told Hawkeye, "If you walk out of here, do not come back."
Yeah, they didn't want him to rescue Peter because, again, they're trying to survive this, and they were worried that he was going to lead him back or be a mole. And so Tony puts this mechanism over their mouth to kind of scan their voices and also scan internally to see if Ultron has secretly infected them, because obviously that sounds like, very Terminator-esque at that point to kind of do a detection run.
Yeah, and it's determined that they're clean of any known elements from Ultron, even though Luke Cage says, "Hey, Ultron's evolving. There's nothing that you know of. You scan for things, there could be something new." And then that's when Emma Frost shows up and says, "Nope, they're definitely clean. Leave them alone."
Yep, and we see Wolverine right next to her. They get a kind of a lay of the land, kind of the survivors of this, and it kind of ends with, he says, "No one gave up." He said, "What do you call this?" He said, "We have no plan." "And whose fault is that?" "He's working on it," Tony says. Is that what you call it?" And the last shot is a splash page of Captain America sitting down, head inside, sitting down in defeat. So that's how issue number 1 ends. And so the heroes are not in a very good place right now. And I'm not surprised because it's Ultron.
Yeah. They've gotten their butts beat, and obviously, instead of being the forward, let's go get them version of Captain America that we're all used to, this is a beat up, defeated physically and mentally version of Cap.
Yep. So, but all right. Well, we will come to you next week with issue number 2 of Age of Ultron and kind of delve into what is going on, what has happened, and maybe get some more answers and maybe lead to more questions. But yeah, a shorter episode of Marvel Alliance this week. Again, it was just the Spider-Noir was our biggest thing, so we said, hey, it's good enough to have a show, break it down, and we'll see what next week brings. So tell people how they can follow you.
You can follow me on all socials at The Phantom. You can follow me here on the GeekVerse network as part of our wrestling show, The Gimmick. We just had a show this past weekend doing our final playthrough of WWE 2K25 with our My GM mode. Tune in to see who took the leaderboard with that. We had a change almost halfway through the last couple of weeks. It was a fun playthrough as we get ready for WrestleMania season and the release of WWE 2K26.
Oh, which version are you getting? There's a lot of different versions you got.
There are a lot of different versions. I am thinking I'm going with the Monday Night War version, but I'm not quite sure. It's either that or the Attitude Era. It's one of the top two tiers. I haven't decided if I'm willing to pull the
So
$150 trigger on that or not.
that's a lot. But let me ask you this: besides the different cover, is it basically does it lock you out of certain things for certain versions, or what's the gimmick?
If you go and get the $150 version, basically you get the first seasons of the battle pass included with it. So, if you're familiar, if you played the game before, it's the season passes that they release the DLCs with. Now they are switching it more to a battle pass formula, a la Fortnite or Call of Duty, where you play through and you unlock these things. You get the first 6 seasons. If you get the Monday Night War version, like I said, it's all 6. If you get
Okay.
the Attitude Era version, I believe it's the first 4 or 5. And Kings of King version is 3, and then the regular version is just the game itself. If you get the King of Kings or above, and you pre-order, you also get it a week early.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, man, that takes me back to the Attitude Era, the Monday Night Wars, man. Those and I always was a Triple H fan. I know he was a heel, but I really enjoyed his character. So, but
Yeah.
all right, well, yes, you can follow me on all the socials at Chris Balga. We just literally recorded right before I jumped on. Jake and I from Brave and the Boys. We recorded our monthly April solicits for Panel Bound Comics. So check that out. That should be coming out in the next couple of days, breaking down all the our favorite pre-orders for the April solicitation, so check that out. And definitely, as always, speaking of Panel Bound Comics, is our official sponsor. Make sure you there we go. Make sure that you use that code MarvelGUA at checkout to get $2 off every single order, or use the code MGUASIT for get that 5% off for when you order 4 or more books together. But yeah, you can catch me on all the socials at Chris Balga. You can follow this show on Twitter at Marvel A Podcast. You can email the show at marvellinespodcast@gmail.com. And feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, ask questions. All our DMs are open. Continue to rate and review Marvel Alliance on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for joining us live in the chat. Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. All right, David, post-credits discussion tonight. What do you got for us?
Okay, according to the direct, and this comes also in conjunction with Daniel RPK, that the rumor is Sony Pictures is open to sharing more Spider-Man characters with Marvel. So with that being said, which character would you like to see either debut or be redone under the Marvel Studios banner?
Well, this is where we get to the crunchy part of the show, as shout out to our good friend of the show, Chuck, at that point. This is where we get to the crunchiness of this, where we delve into these interesting topics. So, what character would we like to see redone? You know, low-hanging fruit, Venom. I don't think everything was, it was their version, but that's low-hanging fruit. I mean, I think we both could agree Venom we would like to see redone. Would that be one we can commonly say?
Venom was one of my, I had 2 choices for redone, and Venom is definitely one of them.
Okay. Another character, let's see. Man, I'm trying to stay away from Venom. The characters, like same thing with Carnage was another one, but I didn't care about Morbius as a character, so it really wasn't one I was pining after. I mean, I guess Craven in a way, but there wasn't a lot. I mean, let me hear yours, because right now I'm just kind of outside of Venom. I'm not coming up with a lot.
Craven was definitely one, especially because a year before we got Craven the movie, we had Craven as a part of Spider-Man 2, the video game, and he was so well done. You got that more look to him, and then you get this weird mutated version that's just a walking PETA ad that is Craven the movie. So it's like you had all these tools. You could have made this incredible character. We know he translates well because we saw it back in the 90s in the cartoon version. We just saw it a year earlier in Spider-Man 2, the video game. Like, you can do this character credit, but this version was just not hitting. So I would love a version that actually went toe to toe trying to hunt Spider-Man. I think that would be an incredible villain.
Yeah, Bears Lair says redone symbiotes and for a new character Scorpion. Yeah. Um I mean again, I would love to see um like coming from Amazing Spider-Man, the Rhino was just a joke.
Yeah.
Wasn't that interesting. Yeah, I mean, outside of Venom and Craven, I'm not even gonna say Madam Web and all those because those don't interest me. It
Yeah.
doesn't, you know.
Yeah, there's nothing about Madam Web coming to the screen that interests me at all. I know Ryan Coogler had said that he had wanted to use Craven as well, alongside Ulysses Claw and Killmonger, but that was shot down. So that's and as for debuts, I mean the low hanging fruit with that one is Miles Morales. Like if I can get live action Miles Morales, I'm still hoping, waiting, wishing come Secret Wars that we get live action Miles Morales. But as a huge fan of that character and the impact that that character had on my family and my kids, I want to see a live action version of Miles
Yeah,
Morales.
and I'll do one bet. I'll do you one like to your love of Miles. I love Miles, but my other one is gonna be Miguel. I know what they're painting him in across the Spider Verse at that point, but to there's so much of an interesting world building you can do in the way of New York and the world of 2099 with Miguel kind of at the head of it. You can have a lot of fun and just see. I mean, just look at the set pieces alone. I mean, just a mix of like a Blade Runner or a Judge Dredd kind of atmosphere and things like that. Like you could have a lot of futuristic fun with Miguel, Spider-Man 2099, that era, and just build a whole new sub world within the Marvel universe of 2099 and bring some new love to that universe because I'm a diehard supporter of that.
Yeah, Miguel would be great. I'd love to see their interpretation of him. I'd love to see him in live action. I'd love
Doom
to see that.
2099.
I'd love to see that suit in live action. I'm not gonna lie. Like I would love to see their take
No.
on that suit.
So, but all right. Well, we will see what Marvel news comes next week. But y'all enjoy your weekend. Stay safe, and we will hopefully see you next week. Bye bye.
So yeah.